jobs and NREGA and things like that, and he could actually pick up a lot of products that were being offered by companies at that point of time. What I think companies are trying to figure out for themselves is how do we serve them? Because if you take, let's say, motor cars, and every company in India has go rural strategy, of their entry-level hatchbacks. If you are planning a supply chain in Delhi, you're talking about 75 cars to 80 cars and 1,000 of population. Mumbai would be ballpark 55, 60. Let's say Hyderabad, which is a slightly smaller town, we are talking about 30, 35 cars a 1,000. And you go rural, we are talking about 3 to 4 cars a 1,000 of population. And the challenge doesn't stop there. Once you've sold a car or a television or an air conditioner, you're talking about having to stay committed to the customer for a long period of time. We'll talk about after-sales service in a little while, but the point I'm making is, while apparently it looks attractive and everybody has a rural strategy, it is becoming a nightmare for companies to keep serving the customer in a sensible, cost-effective manner. And given the frenzy with which companies have gone into rural India, today not having a presence in rural India is not an option for a number of categories. You're not there, you've lost an opportunity to serve the customer. So this is something that we would probably see playing out and evolving over the next 7-8 years, really, where you're talking about distinctly different pack sizes, distinctly different brands that are being sold, and the manner in which they are reached to the customer through the last mile. I mean, we would increasingly see alternative distribution structures that will, the Project Shaktis of levers or the e-chowpals of ITC. Dabur is talking about distributing through post offices. I'm sure the self-help groups which are financed by micro finance institutions are going to be a very strong part of the last mile connectivity with reference to the rural customer. And unlike your conventional retailer, these are guys who do not have the ability to stop and offer you a financial service to the manufacturer. They have very little wherewithal to stock and sell. They probably have the wherewithal to extend financing to the customer, the end customer, in fact. So we would probably have very interesting business models that will evolve in the rural part of the country. Like I said, when the total product life cycle of many of the product categories are going to be shrinking. In fact, if you take cell phones, the time it takes to develop a cell phone is far more than the time it is sold in real life. And this is happening for cars in some sense. If you have not given a facelift to an existing model in 2 years and you have not changed substantially in 4 years, you lose sale. I mean, you are eating up dealership space and you're eating up production space and so forth. So we would have a fair bit of churn and spikes that are happening, and because of the clutter that we have in the marketplace, schemes and combos are a given. You look at any product category today which does not have a scheme. I mean, I come from Chennai, so I would like to believe something like 30-40% of all appliances, both white goods and brown goods, are sold in Chennai in a matter of 15 days. The Christmas week, 2 days before and after Diwali, 2 days before and after Dashera, 2 days before and after Pongal, and probably 1 or 2 more festivals. You're talking about, let's say, a couple of $1 billion of consumption, a third of that happening in 15 days, and you look at the strain to which not just the distribution, but the production, the working capital lockup that happens, and so forth, that really has to be managed, and that is not going away in a hurry. In fact, in a variation of that is Thanksgiving, Valentine's and things like that. We will also see products that don't belong to the same supply chain being combined. If you buy a Tata car, you can stay in a Taj hotel, or you would get a Voltas sold through Chroma. And I know for a fact, without getting into names and so forth, a lot of companies lose money on this particular thing because they are trying to force fit products that have very different behavior patterns, and they have really not configured the entire supply chain for, you spend 25 crores advertising the combination offer, and your supply chain is not ready, and your customer walks in and walks out without buying the product, and people are losing jobs all over the place. So the spikes are forced by companies because of the clutter, and you want to maximize the short life cycle of the product. And incidentally, these teams and these event related sales don't give much money to companies. You are really knocking off the dealer margins and things like that, and you really are selling it very close to COGS, if you will. So these are things again that would increasingly shape and influence the way in which supply chains are managed, not just by FMCG companies. I'm sure FMCG would be a very big part of this game, but increasingly you will find this. Motor cars certainly would be a product that will be happily done in this manner. The next trend I want to sort of discuss with you is the cost of real estate is definitely going to impact the way in which we plan supply chain. You buy real estate space in two ways. The first way is you buy real estate space, or you pay 300, 400, 500 rupees a square foot in Khan Market or Linking Road or wherever, and you are extremely reluctant to have a sub-store in the back of your retail to replenish your shelves. And you say, look, I want to maximize the shelf space so that I get the bang for the buck when I get my customers walking in. And therefore I am going to have these shelves not replenished by the back office sub-store, but I am going to replenish it from a suburban store. Last year or the year back, we did some work for a fast food chain in Delhi. It is a humongous problem to deliver at the point at which the shelf is running out of stock, because you have constraints of, we don't have zoning, right? We don't have organized parking. So you cannot run a 407 into a particular road. You can only run a ACE, and it is allowed to stop there for 6 minutes, after which the traffic constable comes and says, my deal with you is only for 6 minutes, and now what? So if you did not plan this properly, it actually goes and hits the oven utilization of this company, because if you want a patty or a puff in the morning, you cannot make it 3 days back and put it in the refrigerator. It has to be done the previous night or so. Therefore, if you have not accessed the outlet at the point at which the patty is running out of stock, you actually have underutilized and you have lost business. Therefore, companies are going to start trading off between how much do I keep for the customer, because I pay 300, 400 rupees a square foot, and what is the sort of compromise I'm willing to make on the back office vis-a-vis supplying from a distant location. The other end of the supply chain story is, if you take most manufacturing companies that are, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years old, and a very large number of them own their own warehouses, finished goods godowns and things like that. I'm told, all told, a third of all the warehouses in the country are owned by the end users themselves. They are not formal warehouses in the sense, but there is a space in which they keep their material. They are now saying, am I getting the opportunity cost equation satisfied? Because a 20-year-old factory, which used to be very far away from the business district, is actually a nice little place where you have multiple real estate options. Now, why would I, use that 3 acres of land just to have a shed where I can keep some pumps and valves and some rickety trucks standing there? The interest, rather the return on real estate return on that particular thing is 20 times as opposed to what I'm getting out of it just now. So people are going to start questioning the ownership of warehouses. This 30% of the total is probably going to come down very quickly to a very small percentage of all the warehouses that companies own. Mass customization is something that we have played with for a long time. Companies are doing this. I mean, the sachets, and if you take talcum powder, 60% of talcum powder is, I think, sold in about 8-9 districts of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. End of story. And you cannot sell surf in a certain part of the country where you will have a wheel or chakra or something like that. So mass customization and combo offers in the nature of